FIFA is now canceling about 2,000 of its reserved hotel rooms in Philadelphia.
A report that was released in March of 2025 projected that international tourism in the United States would increase 6.5% in 2025 and another 10% in 2026. And that did not happen in 2025, did it?
Correct.
Trump continues to get hit with bad news ahead of this summer's World Cup, which human rights organizations have warned will be a, quote, bonanza of sports washing, which we'll go on to describe what exactly that means. They claim that the Trump administration is using the sport as a political tool to basically cover up abuse, with supporter groups warning that they have, quote, absolutely no clue what will happen to fans if they, do stupid stuff in the US during the tournament. The Sports and Rights Alliance, which includes Human Rights Watch and Amnesty International, has called for more to be done to ensure the protection of individual rights at the World Cup, especially in regards to the United States, which begins in 6 weeks.
The boycott of the FIFA World Cup in the United States continues to gain traction, both as a result of the human rights abuses, war crimes, ICE and Border Patrol, Gestapo, Donald Trump's horrific conduct. People are boycotting the World Cup, and 120 civil society groups have issued a travel advisory not to go to the United States ahead of the FIFA World Cup, or if you do go to the United States, to be very, very careful when you read this travel advisory. I mean, it truly reads like you are going into a war-torn nation, which is essentially what the United States has become under the Trump regime. Arbitrary denial of entry and risk of arrest, cruel, inhumane, or degrading treatment, and even death while in ICE detention.
So the world's biggest sporting event being hosted by a country that people are being warned about visiting is, becoming increasingly harder to get excited about. And by the way, I'm from Scotland. We haven't made the tournament since 1998. I'm buzzing about the fact that we're playing in it, but the Trump effect is in full swing. And we begin with this message from Senator Chris Van Hollen, who discussed how the Trump administration have admitted that its projections of how many tourists would come to the US after he took office were way off. And as a result of their policies, World Cup fans are picking games in Mexico and Canada over the United States. And, well, it's not hard to guess why.
I am very concerned that because of statements made by the president and actions taken by the Trump administration, that we're going to be discouraging soccer fans from coming to games here, and that our communities will lose the economic benefits of that gain, or that they will be diminished. The report that was released in March of 2025 projected that international tourism in the United States would increase 6.5% in 2025 and another 10% in 2026. And that did not happen in 2025, did it?
Correct.
Okay. In fact, I have a chart here that we asked the Congressional Research Service to put together based on the Department of Commerce numbers. In other words, we took your numbers, and this is the chart. You all projected 6% increase. You can see a steady decline. I mean, not even close to 6%, negative.
And this message was echoed by a spokesperson for Human Rights Watch. The representative, Mickey Warden, warned that the United States plans to engage in sports washing, which they went on to describe as, quote, using a beloved sporting event to attract fans and positive coverage that might also serve to cover up serious human rights abuses. And they argued this term, which has been previously used in relation to autocracies or non-democratic regimes in the past, should be applied in the current US administration.
With just over 10 weeks until the Soccer World Cup kicks off, millions of fans face serious human rights risks. That is according to Amnesty International. Steve Coburn is the head of economic and social justice for the group.
This does not feel like the World Cup that was originally promised, the safe, free and equal World Cup and the inclusive World Cup that was promised 8 years ago when it was awarded, but also maybe quite different how it felt even just 18 months ago. We know there are risks to fans and to local communities. In the USA, where 3/4 of the matches will take place, we've described it as there being a human rights emergency. There are people being arrested, detained and deported en masse by immigration agents. The scale of that is huge.
Somebody said, would
would we think about taking the World Cup away from Boston if they don't straighten it out? And the answer is yes, we have the right to do that with FIFA. So if we think that LA is going to be bad, or we think that applies a little bit to the Olympics too, but we'll talk about FIFA first. You know, FIFA is very hot. If we think there's any reason that, whether it's Boston or anywhere else, that they're not doing their job, we're going to take those World Cup games and move them someplace else.
Going on to add, quote, this was supposed to be the first ever World Cup with a human rights framework, key protections for workers, fans, players, and communities. Instead, the US administration's brutal immigration crackdown, discriminatory policies, and threats to press freedom mean the tournament risks being defined by exclusion and fear. I think we are here to say that the problem of sports washing is alive and well, and this World Cup will be a bonanza for sports washing. Yeah, hardly pulling any punches there with those words, and ended with a scathing indictment of Donald Trump by name, saying, quote, Donald Trump has made a singular effort to weaponize sports, both to cover up the aggressive immigration enforcement campaign and also to present the impression that this World Cup is a safe and fun event. Our message today is it's neither safe nor particularly fun, and probably quite unprecedented in the challenges that we are seeing.
What do you think of this idea of replacing Iran with Italy in the World Cup?
I don't think about it too much. That's an interesting question. You know what? Let me give that a little thought. Is that what they're doing? They're thinking about replacing him? Marco, could you make a statement of that, please? What do you think of?
There's nothing from the U.S. has told them they can't come. I mean, the problem with Iran, it would be not their athletes. It would be some of the other people that would want to bring with them, some of whom have ties to the IRGC. We may not be able to let them in, but not the athletes themselves. But I don't know where that's coming from, other than speculation that Iran may decide not to come, and then Italy would fill their spot.
And by the way, it's not like this is just coming from someone that Trump can dismiss as having TDS or whatever he likes to say. It's echoed by more than 120 civil society groups, including the American Civil Liberties Union, who have issued an actual travel advisory for people coming to the United States for the World Cup. Yeah, it's not about weather, not about crime rates. It's about the government. They have warned that visitors could face things like, quote, arbitrary denial of entry, detention or deportation, searches of personal devices, and even, quote, inhumane treatment in detention. Yeah, it's far from a Welcome to America tourism brochure, right?
According to Amnesty, more than 500,000 people were deported from the US last year. That's over 6 times the capacity of New Jersey's MetLife Stadium, which will host the World Cup final. The group says organizing body FIFA should seek assurances from Washington that immigration enforcement operations will not take place in and around stadiums. Amnesty also wants assurances that peaceful protests will be allowed and protected. It has called for the lifting of travel bans on fans from countries like Senegal, Ivory Coast, Haiti, and Iran, and says the safety of LGBTQ fans must be ensured. But the group says the tournament raises further human rights concerns beyond the US.
In Mexico, we've seen over the recent months that there has been criminal violence associated with gangs, and the response to that is a massive mobilization of security forces, including mobilizing 100,000 security personnel for the World Cup, including 20,000 military personnel.
In Canada, Amnesty is concerned that efforts to beautify host cities could see homeless people displaced. The World Cup starts on June 11th in Mexico City, and Amnesty has a message for the fans.
We're not saying don't go. We're not saying don't enjoy it. I really hope the fans do go and enjoy it. But it's been about knowing the reality and making those judgments. The real question is towards FIFA and to the national governments. How do they make the environment safe enough and welcoming enough and inclusive enough?
And also, according to their advisory, it's not evenly applied either. The advisory explicitly states that those more at risk are immigrants, racial minorities, and LGBTQ travelers. That's a massive swath of people, especially when it's the World Cup, where people are coming from all parts of the world. An event that was built on global inclusion. Yeah, FIFA have done their best to ruin that, but you have people from different countries, cultures, and economic backgrounds coming to support the beautiful game in the one place. But the United States is basically saying, yeah, everyone is welcome unless we decide that they're not. Which ironically summarizes their policy on almost every other stance, especially free speech, which they'll say, yeah, it's free speech until it's against this administration, then we want you fired.
For example, as the First Lady of the United States pointed out this morning, just 2 days prior to the shooting, ABC's late-night host Jimmy Kimmel disgustingly called First Lady Melania Trump an expectant widow. Who in their right minds says a wife would be glowing over the potential murder of her beloved husband? And having experienced what I did with the First Lady on Saturday night, I can tell you that she was anything but that. This kind of rhetoric about the president, the First Lady, and his supporters is completely deranged, and it's unbelievable that the American people are consuming it night after night after night.
And here's the real problem for Trump, right? Despite his claims that the US is the hottest ticket on earth, tournaments like this run on perception, and the perception right now is pretty bleak, hence why hotels are out here slashing prices after overestimating the influx of people. FIFA are even cancelling rooms that they have blocked.
Today on Forbes, the U.S. hotel industry is starting to worry about the World Cup. Due to ongoing economic uncertainty, geopolitical tension, and a prolonged so-called, quote, Trump slump causing a drop in international visitors, the significant boost U.S. hotels were expecting from the World Cup may not happen, according to CoStar, the leading benchmarking and analytics firm for the industry. The U.S. hotel industry is concerned about the impact of the World Cup due to uncertainty over international fan attendance. A FIFA analysis last year projected a $30.5 billion economic boost and 185,000 jobs this year, assuming millions of international tourists would flock to the tournament. FIFA President Gianni Infantino has repeatedly stated that World Cup tickets sold out quickly, yet some U.S. fans received emails in February offering a 48-hour window to purchase tickets. Alan Fiol, professor at the University of Central Florida's Rosen College of Hospitality Management, told Forbes, quote, "They're selling primarily to domestic customers. There is a big question about international visitors." Reports of domestic ticket sales and the notoriously difficult U.S. visa process have raised doubts. Host cities were advised to expect a 50-50 split between domestic and international visitors, but hotels prefer international guests because they spend more, stay longer, use more amenities, and contribute more to the local economy. U.S. inbound international travel declined in 2025, a trend noted by U.S. Travel Association CEO Jeff Freeman at the 2026 America's Lodging Investment Summit in January.
FIFA is now canceling about 2,000 of its reserved hotel rooms in Philadelphia ahead of this summer's World Cup. That's according to the Greater Philadelphia Hotel Association. The city is hosting 6 games this summer, 5 in the group stage, and a round of 16 knockout match on the 4th of July. It's not clear how many FIFA still has reserved in the city ahead of the tournament. The Hotel Association releasing a statement about the cancellations, and it reads in part, "Despite these reductions in Philadelphia, we remain optimistic. We are hopeful that any released rooms will be absorbed by strong demand as fans from across the globe travel to Philadelphia for the 2026 FIFA World Cup."
And this travel advisory just makes it official. It turns what was maybe just a perception problem into a documented one.
Love this video? Support independent media and unlock exclusive content, ad-free videos, and custom emojis by becoming a paid member of our YouTube channel today. You can also gift memberships to others. Let's keep growing together.